Welcome back. Welcome to episode 5 of season 2. Now, today we're going to be talking maybe more implicitly about how core messages shape and give rise to our sense of self and our true identity. We're going to be talking about how most of our identity is based on secondhand knowledge, not a direct sense of self-knowing. So we're really going to get to where imposter syndrome really lives and why we actually feel that as a valid feeling, right? You won't want to miss this, but I want to tell you, I want you to get your pencil. I need you to get a piece of paper. I want you to take mad notes because I want to walk us out of how in the world am I going to rewire myself, Dr. V? How am I going to get out of this place where these messages have molded and moved me all this time? How do I create another sense of self? The more accurate is the sacred self. All right. You won't want to miss it. Episode 5 is underway. I'll see you in just a minute. Welcome to episode 5. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the making of an identity. So if you've been with me from the beginning, right, you know that we started off talking about core messages. We talked about what they are. We talked about the source of them. We talked about the felt sense that we get from those messages that may not be steeped in actual truth, right? Sometimes it's not the intention of the message. It's just the way we absorb the emotion, right? What we felt was about the message. And so we talked all about that. We had a lot of conversation about the integration of that, how those messages went from an external voice to now we became the echo. They became source files for our own sense of self. And now today, we're going to talk about how does this kind of anchor and begin to really shape our identity. So one of the things I wanted to make really, really clear is that most of our self-knowledge is secondhand, right? What do I mean by that? Because what comes from these data files that now I've become the echo and the line is blurred between what you said about me that I now say about me. What's really important is that we begin to understand that these ideas, what I think I know about myself, what I actually know about myself, what I believe about myself, all of this came from an external source. So most of what I know about me isn't from a direct sense of knowing at all. Most of us know things indirectly. We know things secondhand. So what does that mean? If my entire identity is based on secondhand knowledge, it's based on somebody else's idea of me, somebody else's opinion of me, somebody else's expectation of me, my lived experience with others, then maybe, just maybe, there's an idea about myself, a sense of self that underlies all of this that is true. And I want to get to that. So I want to talk today about how self-knowledge really does impact how I see myself impacts how I feel about myself, something we call self-esteem, and how that three-legged stool integrates so synchronously that without even thinking about it every day, we're moving through those files. So what does self-knowledge do for us? At this point, everything we know that's come from an external source has filled a library of knowing for me. But again, it's things I think I know. It's things I assume are true. It's the beliefs and convictions I have about myself, but I still don't know if any of those things are true. They're all secondhand. So that means my entire identity could be secondhand. Have you ever stopped to consider that? That maybe the you that you are practicing, the philosophy of you, the patterns of being you, the implications, the embodiment of your ideas, maybe it's not truly who you are. For me, that is a staggering revelation that just maybe in mid-career, do you know people that have changed career, like somewhere 35, 40, they just decide I'm supposed to do something different. So they move from one occupation to a totally different occupation because they realize they went into that because somebody said, you'd be good at that. Or somebody thought that's a great place for you to build a profession or a career and make a living. So we see it all the time where people finally, they relinquish the idea for the real. Well, that's what we're talking about today. So I want you to see that knowledge bank that you've acquired, that you call self-knowledge, isn't self-knowledge at all. It didn't even originate in you. It originated from someone other than you. It originated from stories, not necessarily truth. Remember? So I want you to consider, what would it mean if you just began to consider what you're not in an effort to discover what you are? What would it mean if we could just really begin to separate ourselves from all the things that we think define us, all the things that we self-identify as, all the things that we think confirm or affirm who I believe myself to be? See, I believe this is what we see Jacob do. In the Bible at Peniel, when Jacob has this encounter with the angel of the Lord, the Bible says something amazing. It says that he sends over everything, right? He sends over his children. He sends over his wives. He sends over the livestock. What are we seeing? We're seeing him disassociate all of his ideas about himself from the things that he thinks makes him who he is, right? So you can't be a father without children, right? You can't be a husband without a wife. And so ideally, you see him begin to separate all the places that he's identified who he is, that he's confirmed and affirmed and proven who he is. You see him begin to separate a sense of self from all the things he's defined himself by. I wonder what that would look and feel like if you and I did that. Because I believe before we can figure out and really come to a reckoning and an actualization of who we are, we have to first realize who and what we are not. So much like Jacob's story, it's so important that we begin to disassociate ourselves with roles and expectations and public opinions and, past mistakes and historical points of reference and all those things. Because what's at the core of this is you and I are moving through a philosophy. It's created a whole persona, and we live out of the embodiment of the practice that's meant to confirm what we believe about ourselves. But what if it's not true, right? Remember, you can't rewrite a story as an imposter. When you go back and look at the story of Esther, we can't rewrite our story without a clear sense of who we are. So even when the king said to Esther, write your story again, he didn't say go back and fix the past. He said rewrite the story. But I want you to understand we can't rewrite the story until we figure out what is untrue about my story regarding myself. So the thing about self-knowledge is most of what you have termed self-knowledge is not self-knowledge. It is other people's knowledge of you. It is shared. It is assumed. It is presumed. Right? So if it's not actual, it's not truth, then we're a collection of ideas, because self-knowledge really should be a collection of truths. Is your self-knowledge a collection of truths? That's a question only you can answer. But I would dare say it's probably not. It's probably not. This idea you have of you, is it a collection of assumptions? Is it a collection of presumptions? Is it a collection of other people's ideas of you, other people's expectations of you? Chances are it is. But I want you to see that self-knowledge doesn't just stop there. That's the base. That's the underlying foundation from which your entire self-image emerges. That self-knowledge tells me how to see myself. It begins to paint a picture, an image of myself. That's a mental picture. Nobody sees that but you. Self-image is the mental construct I hold of myself. Right? It's that image. That's how I see myself and how I really see myself in comparison to all or other. So self-knowledge affects self-image, and self-image affects what? Self-esteem, self-knowledge, and self-worth. So what I need you to understand is maybe issues we have with self-esteem can't be corrected without going to the source, which is really fixing the identity issue. Maybe issues with my self-image I can't fix by social media or becoming a better version of myself or getting a new haircut or wearing different clothes. Maybe that I can't fix self-esteem and self-image until I do the work in the self-knowing bucket, until I become self-aware, until I become the primary owner of original truth, not secondhand knowledge about me, until I become the one who comes to the sacredness of the knowledge about me, who I come to the revelation and the understanding of what God has said about me. Because by rights, He's the only one that can make a definitive claim on your identity, because He's the only one that we find saying, I made you in my image and in my likeness. The Bible says everything was produced after its own kind. So I want you to imagine that to dismiss that reality is to dismiss an incredible revelation of who you are. I believe coming to ourselves, this idea of self-revelation, this self-actualization is a game-changing enterprise. Because when the self-knowledge of you is based on something sacred, something significant, something stable, something that's rooted in the source, God Himself, then we're not vulnerable to all of these things that are occurring, all the different life experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, because our identity is anchored on something immovable. Isn't he unchanging? The Bible says there's no shadow of turning in him. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Can you imagine having your sense of self, your essential self, rooted on something that doesn't change? So from Monday to Tuesday, you can feel really good about yourself because it's not up to anybody else. There's no description, no definition to alter who you are. So it's important for me that we understand who we really are. And you can't get there without knowing who you're not. So I need you to begin to have this, maybe your own Jacob experience, a disassociating from all the things you self-identify as, you self-identify with, you self-identify from. I want you to begin to see yourself separate and apart from all of those things, good, bad, or indifferent. And I want you to begin to draw your sense of self from the true source. For the Bible says, as he is, so are we, which means that's an actual state. It's a current reality. It's nothing you have to perform for. You don't have to practice anything. It says, as he is. It's a current reality. Can you imagine? If you could get that as a revelation, as the foundation for your self-knowing, gosh, would it change your self-image? Who would it change your self-appraisal, your self-worth? And that would change how the world reflects and responds to you. Now that's game-changing. So keep in mind, you can rewrite your story, but you have to begin with the truth. You can't rewrite a story with false evidence. You can't rewrite a story with somebody else's narrative. So I want you to come to a place where you listen to these, you embed this truth, you excavate, and you begin to disassociate from everything that you are embodying that was somebody else's message that you made core, somebody else's message that you prioritized and became the echo of. Listen, the essential self, the real you, is not up for negotiation. It is not dependent upon anything or anyone. When God says, I am that I am, you know what he means? I do not define myself by anything or anyone outside myself. Wow, if we could just understand that, we wouldn't be so vulnerable to all of the whims of other people's opinion of us. So in closing, I want to give you a little bit of an assignment as we close episode 5. I want you to really think about how you're seeing those messages, that self-knowledge. I want you to see how it's shaping the practice of you, how it's shaping how you respond, how it's shaping how you embody that ideal. I want see if you can make the connection between where that self-knowledge is affecting how you see yourself and where how you see yourself is affecting how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself, again, directly affects what you know about yourself and how you see yourself. So you can see the loop goes round and around. But the way you and I begin to live a different reality is we must come to the truth. And that truth is who and what we are. You are the sacred and you have supreme significance. Your origin, you have a divine nature. The Bible says we're partakers of the divine nature. And I want you to understand how powerful that truth is. So I want you to spend a little time musing over these things, spend a little time meditating, and sit with simply I am. I am is a game-changing revelation beyond anything else. Like, don't move it into any experience. Like, I am a mother, or I am married, or I am a father, or I'm a seed. Don't move into any, just meditate on I am. That premise, that foundation is game-changing. It's not predicated on anything or anyone. It is complete and it is perfect as it is. I am is a powerful self-revelation. It will bring you to nothing but the truth. And that's where our life can truly change. Listen, it's been amazing to hang out with you. Thank you for being a part of season 2, episode 5. Listen, don't miss episode 6. I'm going to do a beautiful conclusion and a wrap to this entire series. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll see you in episode 6.